Hey there, Stampers. This is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada. And today I'm here to share with you the fourth and final ways to use stencil video. So this is the project that we're going to make, and I will link the previous videos in the description below in case you missed any of them. And this series of videos is by no means an extensive look at masks or stencils and how you can use them. You can use them in so many different ways that I haven't even touched on in this series, but I wanted to share some of the basic ways and then some other fun, simple ways that didn't require a ton of other supplies. So I'm using the Artistic Mix Decorative Masks from Stampin' Up! And here's a quick look at the masks that come in this set. So these two plaids can be layered, and you can check one of the previous videos on how you can layer the masks. And we're going to use this one and this one. We're actually going to layer them today, but we're going to layer them a little bit differently. And I've used these masks for the entire series, so you'll have a ton of ideas on how you can use these masks. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with our stenciling. So I'm going to bring in just a scrap piece of paper, and I've got a piece of copper clay cardstock. And I'm going to grab just some temporary adhesive, pop that on there, and then some Post-it tape to hold my masks in place. And I'm going to start with this mask. So I'm just going to line it up so it's straight. I'm going to use some Post-it tape just to hold it in place so it doesn't move around. And I'm going to add a little bit of color, just a subtle bit of color. I don't want a lot, I just want a little, because I want a subtle background kind of in behind my daisies. So I'm going to use copper clay, so do tone on tone. And just kind of add a little bit like this. I like to kind of lift it up without moving it too much. That looks good. Just to see how it looks. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to come in with this stencil, which is meant to be layered over top. I'm going to take the masking tape, or sorry, dropped my mask here. I'm going to take the Post-it tape off of the other one and reuse it. So I'm lining it up so that the outline outlines what we've just masked. And then what I'm going to do, instead of going over it with a blending brush, I am going to take my Stampin' Write marker and I'm going to trace around the stencil. And I'm not going to do it around all of them. I'm going to strategically pick a few of them. So this gives it a bit more definition, and it's kind of a fun way to use your masks. So you don't actually even need to do the first step if you don't want to. I've got a traveler's notebook layout that I'll share with you in a moment, well, towards the end of this video, where I've used one of the stencils in this set to create kind of a fun background on a layout. Okay, I think that's good. We can always go back and add some more if we want. Most of this is going to get covered over, but look at that. It kind of gives a little bit of emphasis on some of our patterns. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my snips and distress around the edges. So if you have a distressing tool, you can also use a distressing tool. I just like to use my paper snips. All right. Okay, now we're going to do a bit of stamping. So I'm just going to bring in a piece of white cardstock, and we're going to use some wild wheat ink. And I'm going to take the smaller daisy from the Cheerful Daisies dies. And this is a 2-step stamp. So I'm going to do 2-step stamping with this and then also the center. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to stamp 3 of them. And let's do a couple on the inside as well. The inside layer of our card. Grab this scrap piece again. Okay, and then we're going to do the inside layer. And I'm going to stamp off so it's a little bit lighter. And because these are photopolymer stamps, they're very easy to line up. And then we'll bring in these ones. All right, and we're done with wild wheat. Now we're going to bring in some copper clay and we'll stamp the inside of our flowers. And we'll do these ones. You can also stamp your envelope as well. And then we're going to bring in some Mossy Meadow ink to stamp the stem and some leaves. We can set that piece aside. And we'll stamp 3 stems. And 3 leaves. And then the last bit of stamping that we're going to do is our greeting. I'm going to stamp with Memento, and I'm going to use the Wishing You the Brightest Birthday. And we'll stamp that on there. All right, now we're going to use the dies, and I just realized as I'm filming this video, my dies are downstairs because I'm prepping for some kits for an upcoming scrapbook carnival. So my dies are downstairs, but there are some Cheerful Daisy dies that coordinate with this stamp set. So there's one that will cut out this daisy. So you can see I've got my 3 daisies cut out. There's another one that will cut out the stems. And then there's another one that will cut out the leaves. And what I've done is I've just kind of fussy cut around the Wishing You the Brightest Birthday. So I apologize for not having those here to show you, but you get the idea. All right, so we're gonna bring in our card base, which is a piece of copper clay. And we're gonna layer these 2 pieces so that we have just a tiny bit of that green showing in behind. So just a smidge. And then we'll attach this. So you could do this same technique, and instead of using your blending brush to do that first layer like I did on this card, you could spritz it with a combination of rubbing alcohol and ink refills. You could do some embossing paste. That would work nicely as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. But again, I chose to keep this series so that it's really just simple techniques, not requiring a lot of supplies, and just to show you just how versatile masks can be. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this series and it's encouraged you to pull out your masks and play a little bit more. I'm just adding, who knows, maybe I'll do another series down the road where we get a little bit more in depth with masks, because there really is so much you can do. Okay, we're coming down to the end of my dimensionals, so I'll just snip around the edges here. we're gonna pop up all of these flowers. Pop that one, put it a little lower, and then this guy we'll put up a little higher. And then, oh, that's not very centered. Hey, let's put another dimensional on there. And then this guy will get tucked underneath here. Love that little collection of flowers. All right, now I've got some baker's twine that I've kind of turned into a bow. I've tied it into a bow, and we'll use a little dot of multi-purpose glue. We're gonna add this on here, and then this is gonna get added using dimensionals. Right over top. Like that, and then we'll take our leaves, just curl them up just a little bit with our bone folder, and we'll tuck our leaves in. I like to just add a little bit of adhesive just to the base, and then find little areas that I can tuck in so it looks like they're popping off the page. It just gives it a little bit of movement, a little bit more dimension. Pop another one there, and then maybe one more in behind here. All right, and then we can add the inside layer. We'll just add a little bit of multi-purpose glue. We'll pop that inside, and then our last step is just to add some gems. And I realized I forgot to pull those out, so let me grab those. Okay, so I'm gonna use the 2023-25 in color gems. On this card here, I used these ones, the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels, because when I planned this project, I did not have these ones on hand, but now I have them on hand. So let's see how they look. We're gonna do tone on tone. So I'm gonna pick, let's put this bigger one down here, and then there's 3 different sizes in here. We'll do one there, and then another one up here. Let's do one there. All right, I love that tone on tone. I think I prefer the look of that. All right, and there is our card done. So a quick and easy technique, stencil technique or mask technique that doesn't require really a whole lot of fancy supplies, a blending brush, an ink color, and maybe a coordinating Stampin' Write marker, and you've got this fun background. So as promised, I have a layout to share with you. So this is a traveler's notebook layout for my Life Crafted album. And here you can see that this background, I used this stencil. I used this and a Stampin' Write marker. So I used Pebbled Path and Moody Mauve, and I just created a fun background using that shape. So I didn't use any blending brushes or any ink, but it creates such a fun, unique background for a project. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this series and that I've encouraged you to pull out your stencils and play around with them, experiment, and just have some fun. All right, thanks so much for watching. Take care.